In this video, I'd like to talk about 5 reasons why you should not go into web design. Now, this is obviously a little bit of an odd video to do as someone who would like to say, hey, you should go into web design and buy my online course to learn how to do that and follow my affiliate links for hosting and website builders. Now, that's the idea, but of course, that's actually the problem, which is that YouTube is really quite filled with people saying, you should do this, and because you should do it, go and follow my affiliate links. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm not judging harshly on that, not at all. However, a job, a career, is made up of the 90% of the normal of that existence, and it just occurs to me that nobody really is informing of the real frustrations that can be the daily experience of being in web design. I'll just say before we go into it, I love web design. It has really helped me move towards my earning potential in life. It's been a real pivot for me since I went into it full time, and I don't want to do anything else. But I'm not going to just stand here and say, you should do it, this is easy, go and get the tools you need and follow my affiliate links, without saying, hey, we're all different sorts of people, and some of us have a particular leaning towards, what we feel comfortable with. This is the real experience. Make sure you've considered that. That's where I'm going with this. Okay, so let's have a look at 5 reasons why web design sucks, and just speak honestly about them. So the first one I think I'd like to speak about is there's always a need, obviously, to get better, to keep up to date with developments. You have to be running after the industry because it's always moving forwards. Design concepts and things like that, they are often sort of timeless, although you've got to stay on board of trends and things like that. SEO is constantly always changing, and excuse me, and obviously there are new developments. Search engine presentation changes. Page 1 being the top of page 1 is now being down here below AI generated snippets, and now it's more about trying to get into those perhaps, or using different search engines. I'm going on about it because it is always changing. And then you have actual web design, the tools that you would be using. Just last year, I had my entire client base using Elementor, and that's what my courses were made up of. They were Elementor courses, essentially. And now I exclusively use Breakdance. And that pivot has occurred because I've had to keep a finger on the pulse of the industry. Some other changes, obviously, AI has really been implemented across so many tools and workflows that, you have to make time to be constantly learning and, staying on board with all of that. Now, in some ways, that's the blessing and the curse, because most people that go into web design, and certainly that's true of me, came into it from learning, giving yourself projects just so that you're learning something new. That learning process is really quite, it is something that a lot of people in this industry quite enjoy. But it's different when you are working in it, when you've gone full time. And you're tired from the day of being at the screen. You want to just go to the gym. You want to go and read a book or something, and yet you kind of need to make sure that you're keeping up to date on things, practicing your graphic skills, practicing different coding, all of these things. Now, it's not just about keeping up with the industry in general. If you are working within a project, 95% of a project that comes in from a client might be like, yeah, I've done it 100 times, I'll blast that out for you, let's go. There might be 5%, which is, that functionality, I've never really had to create that on a site before, or, the way you're asking for it, I might need some different sorts of plugins or added, gizmos. That all takes research time. It takes time to learn what the capabilities are of different plugins. You might have to test them out, purchase them. There's a lot of time into it and that goes into it. And you've had to promise to a client at some point, yes, I will get this project done for you. and you need to estimate time, you need to allocate time to a project. And when you see that going down, when you see that starting to get used by this learning experience, and you need to learn well enough, quickly enough to achieve a product that could be paid for, that you are going to be paid for, that is a pressuring element in your work. So it's pressured learning. It's not, oh, I'm messing around on my laptop in the evening, seeing what I can do learning. It's pressured. It needs a result. It needs it fast, and you're going to get paid for it. So you better do it well. And yeah, that is something that you become aware of quite a lot within projects in web design, and also in the industry in itself. You've got to keep up with it. That being said, what can we do about it? What's an actionable tip? This year, I've really identified that I always get by. I always do well enough, kind of. But a weaker point for me is my actual graphic design, being in the graphic packages and achieving the results that I want to achieve. What I've decided to do, and it's been working really well for me, is to set aside a guilt-free half an hour a day. When I drop all client tasks, I drop all of the pressured, oh my God, I need to do this in my schedule. And I take that half an hour and I just learn. I do some tutorials that seem interesting to me. I might build out a new logo or something along those lines, following a tutorial, much like what I put out. Because in just doing that project focused task, you end up learning so many more new things that other people do, or ways that they do it. They use a particular tool or a keyboard shortcut. It doesn't matter what it is, but the point is you feel that you have that forward momentum, and you get that time back when you are more capable in the future. So throughout a 5-day work week, that's 2.5 hours of dedicated learning. And the most important thing that I think is that you're not pressured to take that learning into life. You've got that work-life balance. Make it a part of your working schedule, which can be difficult when you're pressured for time. But it's a little bit like when people say with your finances, you feel like you're poor, but start saving every time your wage comes in. You won't miss it, but you will really consider that quite an investment. It's the same sort of thing. So set yourself half an hour a day where it's guilt-free learning. Just put down the calendar and pick up a tutorial and go for that. That's what I would say. Or, of course, the alternative is get into some articles that are interesting, Forbes, search engine journal or something like that. I can't remember why I'm forgetting the name of, I don't know why I'm forgetting the name of that right now. But they are good reading and it'll always get you thinking. Okay, number 2, what else? There's a real, sometimes in web design, you really do feel like it's a thankless job. Most of the feedback that you get coming your way is not good. And that's partly because that's how it's all set up, really. Somebody comes to you and says, I would like this. You look like you know what you can do. That's great. You sell them that product, that package, that project, and then they have an expectation. And following onboarding and everything like that, you have to deliver on an expectation that they have, and that they are absolutely shit at communicating. It doesn't matter how hard they try, and they really, really do. You can look at example sites, you can really talk about the functionality, all of that. You can list everything as much as you like, but when you take that first design to them, most likely they're going to go, oh, right, yeah, no, it's good. That's a good one. Ding, ding. But there's always but. There's always it's just, but can we, but I'm just thinking, and it's like, oh, I know you're going to ask for the logo to be bigger. Now, it's kind of a joke around web designers that clients always ask for the logo to be bigger or for the space to be usually diminished. Like, I don't know if we need that much space. So you do need that much space, and no, your logo should not be bigger. But it can be really quite frustrating when you have every project come back to you with these little niggly things, and Yeah, it on one side it's just frustrating because you know why you put the logo that size, you know why it shouldn't be bigger, you know why the page and elements on it need breathing space, you know that you are considering user journey through the page and not just does it look like that site. And the amount of effort and love and passion you can put into a design or a template, whatever it might be, sitemap, you bring that to someone and you are in a position of criticism, and that's not to be snarky, it's just part of the process. And it can hit you from anywhere between frustration and actually a real dent in your self-esteem. Even as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, maybe you're all gonna go, "Oh no, everyone says my stuff's awesome. You must just be shit." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'm just shit." Um, so, yeah, it's a difficult dynamic. Now, there are some different ways to look at it. Sometimes I think, okay, no, come on, I'm an artist. But of course, I'm not. I'm a web designer. And though what I'm creating might be visual, it doesn't mean I'm doing a sculpture. It doesn't mean I'm doing a piece of art to go on the wall and people can love or hate it. The truth is, you are being commissioned to, or yeah, commissioned to create something for someone. And that is different to being commissioned to do a painting or a sculpture. Nobody would commission an artist to do a sculpture and they say, "Can you shave some off that wing?" Or, or the painting, "Can you put more red, splodge some more red over there?" And yet the experience of web designers is you bring them a piece of creative beauty and they're just going to pull it apart and want to change lots of little things, often without good reason as far as you might be concerned. Now, I sound like I'm bitching like a bitch, but I don't mean to be. It's just something that you have to go into it knowing that you are going to get lots of criticism. The feedback will usually be the negatives, and you will feel like when they go, "Yes, I'm happy with my site," you're going to be looking at something that you probably consider to be blemished by the changes they insisted on making. And what that does mean is that your portfolio feels like a compromise and it's not really an expression of your work. And that can be a bit difficult, or I find that difficult. I'm sure I'm not the only one. So yeah, I would love to know if some people go, "No, if you want to hire me, I'm saying what it looks like, I'm saying how it functions, and that's that," or "Don't hire me." I would love to know how that's going, if anyone's experimented with that model. As an actionable tip, I try to soften the impact of this in two ways. One of them is that I network with lots of people that don't mind that client process. So I work with a few designers and they take care of all of that and they bring the visuals after the arguments, they bring the visuals back to me and then I create the page. So I enjoy networking for that. I have other people doing that side of things and we collaborate in that way. Another tip that I have, if you have to be doing that client facing stuff, is actually I'm just open and honest about the process. I say in the onboarding, I'm going to bring you a piece of work. I'm going to bring this to you as I feel like it should be, and you're probably going to want to feedback some things that you don't like or you wish were different. All fine. It can be as you want it to be, but bear this in mind. I am going to push back. I'm going to make a case for what I've done, and we need to discuss it. I think that paves the way for discussion rather than confrontation and argument. I think saying to somebody, "This is my portfolio piece too, and I'm really invested in your success. So can we have a conversation about this? Let's just keep talking until it settles in the middle and we're both happy." I've found that actually really works quite well. Quite often, not all the time, clients will go, "Oh, okay, actually, I see what you mean. I see why you did that. That makes a lot of sense. No worries." And so I think that framing the whole process as one of discussion and collaboration and gentle pushback with honest and open conversations, I think that really, really does help. Um, I recently did a video on the components of web design where I talk about the design triangle, which is the way I see web design. And, you have the aesthetics, conversion, and SEO, and they wrestle against each other. And using that as a visual tool with clients really does actually help, because sometimes it is about saying, I actually agree with you. Aesthetically, that doesn't look as good as it could, but it helps us win on the conversion points and certainly helps us with the SEO. And you want your site to rank, yeah? Yeah. And you want your site to convert, yeah? Yeah. So we can't put that there. All right. It kind of works better. Conversational tools and a nice little visual image. It does assist with that. But again, just saying, this is a common frustration in web design, and it's certainly a smack on your self-esteem. So you've got to keep that in check. If you don't feel like you can take that, then, well, web design might not be for you, or at least not without collaborating with someone who's client facing. That would be my way to the way that I'd point you towards, really. The way I'd point you towards, really. That's how I'd say you can handle that. Right, cool. Okay. Number 3. The perception of web designers is one that you're doing something everyone can do, if that makes sense. So, I I consider myself an expert at what I'm doing. I've been in the game for years. I can talk about it, as you might know, quite easily. There are lots of different aspects that I know quite intuitively, although every day is a school day, of course. See point number 1. But, when your house is flooded and, a plumber says, I'm £70 an hour, but I can come and help you out. It's like, yep, cool. All right, I get that. You're going to come along. It's a very physical task. You've got the expertise along with that. Sure. We think the same of mechanics. If our head's exploding because of, dental tooth pain or something, the expertise and the medical expertise and knowledge and the tools of the dentist is something we're going to, might begrudgingly, but we accept that we need to pay those amounts. It's a bit different with web design, and sometimes I've really tried to consider why it's more difficult. It's not that we're just at a screen or a desk, because again, people don't think so much about that with lawyers or accountants or other screen-based work, but there's just a very visual, playful nature to web design, and some of it is not helped by the fact that you have Wix, Squarespace, and Shopify sort of saying, hey, you can do this yourself if you've got a few evenings and £12 a month. Drag and drop, it's easy to get a great website. I mean, we know if you've been working a website or having a go at it, that's absolute rubbish. But, and also see the whole thing about the triangle of design there. Those sites are just aesthetic, if anything else, if nothing else. Or, yeah, those sites are just aesthetic. Yeah, conversion and SEO is rubbish. But of course, the perception that most of your prospects, most of your potential clients have, as soon as they start Googling website for business, they've got Wix and Squarespace and Shopify adverts popping up saying you can do this, have an evening and use a nice template and you'll be away, and you don't need a web designer. Now, okay, fine, most of those clients are already primed with the fact that they could do it themselves, but they just want to get someone else to do it, and that creates the perception that it's not really it's not really very skilled and worth that hourly rate of 50, 70, £100 an hour. But actually, it's really intense work, and you have to make sure that before you're putting pixel on the page or pen to paper, that you're doing lots of planning beforehand, and that comes with experience and expertise. And it's something that you have to keep in mind when you are selling yourself, because otherwise you're going to get haggled down. People just don't really seem to value the pixel pusher sort of persona. They don't value it so much as a skilled trade or hard work. It all seems a bit visual and, well, I could just do it myself with a DIY website builder or logo maker. And that perception in people makes it difficult to sell easily. You certainly have to give them, convince them that your time is worth the correct amount of money. So I did another video on how you can increase your salary by 10 grand or something like that. And I stand by all of that, but you have to be able to confidently sell what you're doing. I suppose, again, I would have two touch points on this of how you can handle this. One of them is what I like to do as well, which is have someone else do the sale process and be client facing, and I'm the nerd in the background. So collaboration, we all need to play to our strengths, and if you can't confidently sell and be quite pushy, then that's a really good way to go. If you do need to be client facing and do the actual selling, I realize that especially in light of all of these DIY page builders, it's really important not to sell the what you do. It's important not to sell the what or the how. It's really important to sell the why. So like, why can I, oh no, something like that. No. Yeah, sell the why, not the what or the how. Essentially, you want to say, I can create you a website that will earn you this. It will bring in this amount of leads. It will generate this amount of revenue for your business. And it doesn't matter what website page you're building. It doesn't matter what graphics you're using. All of the what, which is comparable to DIY builders, that's not actually in the conversation. Wix and Squarespace and Shopify, they're not really talking about the results so much. They're saying you can build a website. But if you're saying you'll be in my care, we'll be in a collaboration, and we're going to bring in a revenue target of this through your digital presence, that's an entirely different sell. And yeah, that's where I would say you really need to, move into in terms of your selling points. But certainly, convincing people of the worth of your hourly rate is going to be a little bit difficult. There's just a perception that it's a creative endeavor. A lot of people would expect it free, cheap, or something close to that. Yeah, which is a bit unfortunate, but it is a reality of web design. Number 4, let's do 4 of 5. I suppose sometimes I feel very thinly spread as a web designer. You can look at job descriptions for web designers. One of them recently, not that I'm looking at web design jobs, but of course I am, always looking around. One of them said, too many definitions of web design, so see our list. And I thought, well, that's interesting because, yeah, web design is just such a there to there term. And if you look at job descriptions, you will see everything from SEO knowledge to knowing different graphics packages to being able to sometimes do video or photography. You need to have 3 coding languages under your belt. Be knowledgeable about servers and DNS, and and hopefully you're an expert in databases as well. Also, you need to be a good project manager and be client facing and good with sales. And it's like, wow, so I'll do everything then. And that is certainly a reality of web design. So as a freelancer, obviously, you're going to wear many hats. You have to market yourself initially. You have to get clients in and then get better at that sales process, get them in through the sales process into the onboarding, onboard well, and then move on with the project. Now, in the project, you might ask them for content, images, text. They're probably not going to bring it in as they should. And you end up filling gaps and filling in just to get the project going. And again, blessing and a curse. In some ways, you have full control over the project, and in some ways, you are then able to sort of learn whilst doing, which is great. And again, it kind of suits people that are going into web design. But it is a busy job. There are many different angles that you have to be thinking of this. There are many angles that you have to view the same problem from. And yeah, that can make you feel a bit thinly spread, certainly as a freelancer. So that can really bring a bit of a burnout feeling, certainly to freelance, or when a project is getting a bit tiring. you are only leaning on yourself. But this can also be true of agency, because people who are going into marketing probably don't have much experience in the web design and web construction, or how to overcome technical issues. People who are SEO experts and more in the copywriting, again, they might be able to splat some on the page in an editor, but clients can do that. They probably don't have the ability to, again, jump in around the server, sort out different issues, or construct any of the pages. Even in an agency setting, most likely the web designer has had more experience doing copywriting, image production, graphics production, SEO, funnels and systems, and SEO optimization, as well as their craft of web design and web construction. They've probably had more of that experience, especially if they came from a freelance background, because you've had to do that. And I find that if you're in the position of the web designer, you're probably going to be dipping into lots of other stuff, whether you are agency or freelance. Again, it's a really wonderful thing about web design, because there's so much diversity, and at any one point, you've got enough experience to pivot and go in another direction. So I find myself going a bit more into SEO and copywriting and content marketing at the moment. But, the point is, I know how to do that because I've been setting that up for clients on their own websites, and you can't set that up without learning about it. So, yeah, it just means that you've got a skill set that can lead to you being a bit thinly spread, because people know you know how to do it. And, obviously, you've got to, it's a difficult one. Sometimes you need to say, actually, I've got my schedule filled out with stuff that nobody else can really do. But, give me a yell if you get stuck, but I'm kind of packed out. And so I think that web design, you can end up being a bit of a leaning post for lots of other people who know that you can do it. The other side of it is that in freelance, obviously, there is the danger of doing lots for free, because clients might bring you copy that doesn't really make any sense, and you need to improve it. Clients will bring you images that likely are not very good, and you might have to source some others, or improve some, or make some graphics. They always bring in a logo that looks like clip art from 1998, and any other branding is just not very good. And you end up doing whole branding packages, logo development, image sourcing or creation, and then copywriting. Sometimes with SEO optimization, you end up doing all of that without actually acknowledging that to the client. Sometimes it's not even the client's fault, and they don't realize you're filling in these gaps. But yeah, it's certainly something that can happen. Let's take an actionable step on this one. How can you not be too thinly spread and be a jack of all trades? Well, for one thing, you could actually just really specialize, find the thing that you really do like to do, consider everything else around it just a learning experience, and make sure that you're being very boundaried in what job you are applying for and what you're saying you will and can do. So that's more of an agency setting, obviously. Within that setting, you are still going to know how to do lots of things, and so you need to be boundaried, and say, actually, I've got a project load here of my skill set, and I can't really just dip into other areas right now. That same sort of boundaried approach is appropriate for freelancers as well. And I currently work in agency and freelance, and I find it's the same with both. But really, you need to ensure that you are having conversations with your clients and saying, well, okay, you can produce this content and that's it, or I can handle that for you. So if they're saying, I think I might have a logo, I'm going to bring that into you later on, and you're like, okay, fine, and then they bring it and it's not very good, there's a temptation to start fixing it, or say, well, I had a tweak with it, is this any better? You haven't had that discussion there that your time to develop it, to improve it, is needing to be paid for. So I would always say, in onboarding, address the fact that If you need any help with content writing, if you need any help with sourcing images or logo, then we can discuss that later. And it would be this amount. So just mention that there is cost involved for future help on any other areas. And I think that's a good way to move forward. Again, this is about having the open and honest conversations with the clients and creating expectations. But it's certainly a stress or a blessing and a curse, but it's certainly a stress in web design that you do end up getting thinly spread across a lot of different specialisms. And that can feel like quite a lot to take on sometimes. The last thing I'll say is I think that web design, a little bit related to actually the DIY sites that I was mentioning, but it is really, really highly competitive. There are so many web designers. I've sometimes joked that everybody seems to be a personal trainer or a web designer. And cliche enough, I'm both. So it's just one of those things is that if you Google web design or marketing agency or web agency in your area, you're going to find a whole load of actual agencies, and then probably times each of those by 100, times that number by 100, and you've got the amount of freelance web designers who are all just ready to jump in on any Facebook post where a business says, oh, hey, I'm just in the area, I'm starting out my business, I think I need a website. Somebody recently told me, oh, check out this community page, there's someone calling out for a web designer. By the time I got there were 20, 30 posts of like, pick me. And, it was just like, okay, I'm out. I'm not going into that. The point is that whether it is Squarespace, Wix, or Shopify, or 1,000 freelancers, or bigger agencies around you, there is a lot of competition, and you do just need to know that going in. It's one thing to do something like I did in previous video and say, if you get 100 clients paying this amount per month, then you can earn this amount a year. It's one thing to do that math and go, wow, that sounds really cool, because it does. But getting that amount of clients and retaining that amount of clients is quite difficult because it is highly competitive, both against the DIY solutions to agencies that have that natural trust factor. We can do everything for you. And lots of experience with that, to just a load of freelancers who will undercut your prices. And so even if it's just because you have to go into really competitive pricing, it's going to be hard graft at the beginning. And, it's a high competition industry, which, you should know that going in. It's not as easy as make a site, make a client happy, get paid a whole load of, a lot of web design business podcasts and everything, they're all talking about £5,000 websites. In my experience, that's not just because I'm a shit salesperson. That's not the easiest to come by. I've recently been working with a couple of very well-off businesses, and they're quite huge and international, but there are options for them. They don't need to be selling in, agreeing to £5,000 to £8,000 quotes. And so while they are good, they are few and far between. So that's not really where you're going to be operating most of the time. So you do need to get ready to get the elbows out and fight the fight in a highly competitive area. But all of that being said, I love web design. I want to go further in it. I really do enjoy it. And again, it's been the thing that's helped me reach my earning potential, or get towards that. And I have no interest in jumping out, but I just don't want to be inauthentic about it. It's a hard day's work, and there are many typical frustrations. And I thought it was fair to actually communicate that to you all. So those are my thoughts. If you have some experience in web design and you want to put out some of your own frustrations or those typical negatives in the day and the solutions that you find yourself using to overcome those, I would love to hear about it. And of course, that'll probably be useful to me. I'll be like, I know what you mean. And Yeah, I'd love to know some of your ways around that. But yeah, anyway, all of that being said, I have courses, new courses being created right now, and they will be available for sale on my website. Until then, you can get my free Udemy course. If you see the description, the link in the description below, you can get my free, you can get my Udemy course for free. There we go. And yeah, you can. It's a really good course, and if I do say so myself, you can learn all of the fundamentals of web design and use a free theme and the free version of Elementor to create an awesome website that you could actually charge for. So it's a really great start in web design, but of course my new courses are going more in depth on different aspects of web design. I'll be covering using Breakdance as a website builder, which is far superior. And also I'll be going into different aspects of web design business and how to handle that. So a lot is coming down the pipeline. It's it's on the way, but until then, get started with a free Udemy course. Just get the voucher code through the link in the description below, and it's a really good start. It'll get you going. And I'd love to hear how you go with that. Okay, so please like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know of some of your thoughts on all of this, and I hope you have a great day. I'm off to the gym.